Hello and welcome everybody to the Breakthrough Your Limiting Beliefs Summit, where we're going to find clarity, understand your purpose, and quickly remove blocks to create an amazingly authentic life. I'm your host, Daniel Stather, and of course I created this to help everybody go beyond where they are today and really know that they can be, do, and have more, and that they do have infinite potential to create a life that is amazing and authentic. And today we have a wonderful guest speaker to help us discover that. Her name is Kristen Balecki, and she is a soul and crystalline light body embodiment guide, intuitive and energy healer. Welcome, Kristen.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you, Daniel.
Yeah. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing like whatever you feel guided, how you got to this point or your journey to do what you do.
Yeah, well, going on your theme with being authentic and having clarity and, having that amazing life that creates that for me, being authentic and having clarity was a real challenge for a long time. And I know for a lot of people, it can be a real challenge, of like, what does that mean? How do I do that? And what are the tools, or what does that feel like? What does that look like in our lives? And it can create a lot of confusion and discomfort, And so for me, the authenticity, I think, was the first piece that created, I think, the most discomfort, because I was really challenged in feeling comfortable in my body, feeling comfortable being here and being comfortable with expressing what was really going on inside me. Because I would have to say that for a good part of my life, what I was feeling didn't feel good. We would call them our more negative emotions or our more negative thoughts, right? And I had several periods of time in my life where I was really not a happy person. And so it took a lot of effort, I would say, at first, to be willing to look at those places that felt uncomfortable, that didn't feel good, right? And I know that's a part of our healing path, is really being able to have that capacity to go, oh, this is what I'm really feeling inside. These are the thoughts I'm really having. This is the view of the world I'm having. This is the view of myself. This is how I'm behaving. This is how I've created my life, and really taking that responsibility and accountability, I think, is one of the first pieces for me that supported me in going into those spaces and understanding, where they came from. And sometimes we don't necessarily have to know that, like where they come from or why. It's just acknowledging them, because I feel like what happens a lot of times for me, especially, was that I was in resistance to them. I didn't want to be that. And so, I was splitting myself in two, of going, oh, this is what I'm really feeling, but this is the life I'd really like to have. So I'm going to go over here and play in this and not tend to that, right? Tend to those challenging experiences that were happening inside of me. And when I started tending to them, that's where the magic is. That's where the magic was for me. And I find that can be the magic for most people, is going, wow, can I really sit with this? Can I really be with this? Can I really acknowledge and witness myself in this way, right? And be okay with that. Be okay with any of, you know, judgment or anger or shame or guilt or sadness, grief, any of those things that we hold, inside that don't feel good. And so for me, when I did that, I really started to free up a lot of energy, a lot of space from which those things were taking up. And then I could start to feel myself, start to feel the truth of who I was. And then the clarity came, right? So that's kind of my path, is like really sitting in that clear intention of knowing myself, of really viewing myself and seeing myself in all those places and spaces that we could call difficult or negative, and say, wow, it is just what it is. And it's here for a reason. And I'm going to pay attention, and I'm going to feel, and I'm going to look, and I'm going to let it have its space, to let it have its expression. So then I can have the clarity of who I am in that space, and then do the healing work around it. And so that's what really has brought me to the space I am in now, to be able to support others and having that experience, as well as just being very centered and clear in my own body and my own space, and allowing whatever does show up through me to go, receiving it without judgment, receiving it with more connection, receiving it with more clarity of where it is and why it's moving through me that way, so that I can navigate my life with more clarity and authenticity in communication with myself and communication with others. And it's created like a really strong foundation from which to, I feel, to view the world and have relationships with others. So that's a quick hopefully a quick answer to your question, to support others, especially with your theme of the summit.
Yeah, no, that opened up a lot of different understanding, right? So like when you share everybody else's journey or your own journey, it kind of allows people to kind of have ahas, right?
Mhm.
And so that's really beneficial. Now, just relating to on your path or even what you deal with or notice in clients, is that where did you notice that there was starting to understand like limiting beliefs that were maybe holding you back from maybe even starting your path or on your path?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Uh, as we were speaking before we started the recording, we were sharing some current healings that we were both having. And one of them was still a seed of, for me, not being good enough. Right. And so what I was experiencing, and that was a huge limiting belief for me, that I didn't really have I really didn't have it in me to be seen or to be visible or share something with other people. So I was mostly in the background. I hid a lot in life. And when I look back on my life, I was like, well, I didn't hide as much as I thought I did,
Mm,
because I was involved in groups. I played sports, I was in student government. I was, president of different groups and stuff like that. So I had this leadership quality about myself. But even in that space, I was feeling that I wasn't doing enough,
mhm.
or that I wasn't good enough to do what I was doing. I just happened to be there, right? And so it was this weird dichotomy, these weird thoughts and feelings that I would be having in these experiences,
Yeah.
right? And then when I wasn't in a space that held a container for group things like school or college, I just kind of went into the background, in my daily life for many years, where I just did basically what I wanted to do. I traveled a lot and worked, but it wasn't really going, this is who I am, because I didn't really know who I was in that context. I knew I had all these, these different healing and intuitive abilities, but I didn't feel good enough about myself to go, oh, yes, I'm going to start a business, or I'm going to open up a healing practice, or whatever it was that people do when they feel, confident in that they know something and they're
Yeah.
going to go do something. And so when I started to really tend to that, what I really found was, okay, I can live with and I can accept the fact that I feel that way about myself. And I'm going to do it anyways. So it didn't fully go away. It wasn't all of a sudden that, oh, I felt really great about myself and I'm awesome, and I can do these great things in the world and I'm just going to do this thing. It was like, no, I still have that and it still shows up, but I'm going to do it anyways, because I can feel the pulse. I can feel the calling. I can feel the depth of what's being held in my body through this experience of this soul and this experience of this body and the capacity and abilities. I'm just going to go for it. And I'll still be honest, to this day, I still have those things show up. And but I'm able to be with them. I'm able to embrace them and love them and not let them keep me, limited, right? In these limiting ways of not stepping forward more into who I am. What it's actually done is created a really deep relationship with myself, to be able to go, I see you, I feel you, I hear you. What part of you needs to hold on to this still? What part of you, what, in just doing the inner child work, doing the shadow work, doing all of those things that supports uh still a centered, strong, stable core of being, and letting them show up when they need to, and that it's okay.
Yeah, such great points there, right? Because I think we are probably our hardest critic. And
Yeah.
so kind of like how along those lines you mentioned, kind of get rid of judgment, right? That really helps. So that's a limiting belief just by itself, but really kind of you highlighted that facet of fear, face the
Mhm.
fear, even though you feel it, and that's still part of our journey. So that's a helpful breakthrough moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because right when you said face the fear, I saw this thing of where I'm still like having to look at it and it's something outside of myself. And I have to like come into it's more like, oh, we're together. The fear, the love, the joy, the anger, the sadness, it's all a part of me. It's all a part of us. It's all a part of our experience. And so one of the things that I reflect upon a lot is make it my friend.
Mm.
Make it my friend. Come into relationship with it. Come into communication with it so that I'm not against it, or I'm not resisting it, or I'm not trying to make it into something else, right? Because just by doing that alone, it can transmute. That's the power of alchemy, right? When we just observe it and witness it. And that's the quantum as well, is when we just observe something and witness something, it comes into being. So if I can observe and witness this fear as an opportunity and as information, and that I can embrace it, then it just, opens up so much more energy for it to become what's underneath it. If it's something that we want to do in life, or if it's something we want to say, or something we want to create, it opens up so much more space and energy for that to actually flow through.
Yeah, so true.
Mm.
Yeah, that opens up a lot because you think about uh, how the resistance is really you're fighting it, but yet, well, but you said to basically befriend it and make it part of you, and almost like transmute it, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's so
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, well, when it comes to like maybe seeing this in other clients on that, do you feel that mostly it's an underlying fear is the basis of everything, or limiting beliefs can span outside of fear?
That's a great question because we have such a spectrum of experience, right? And there's even a spectrum, I think, of fear itself, of how intense is the fear, maybe the fear comes up and it's like, oh, it's a nudge, but it doesn't stop us. Or maybe the spectrum, you're so far into fear that you go into panic attack, or you actually have a physical reaction, so when I view myself in those experiences and others, that I work with and that we get to communicate about, I feel that the limiting belief experience is more just an energetic experience, right? It's an energetic experience that is held in our body or in our subtle bodies in some way through memory, right? It's a memory. And that memory can be it can become very tangible, when certain things come up for us, because we're actually feeling those emotions. We're feeling how our body wants to move, or how it wants to tense up, or how it wants to open and flow, depending on what memory we're triggering. And so when I see that in others, it's really going, what's here? What's here? Let's breathe into that space. Let's inquire and open into that space and see what's there. So it's not putting a label on it. So if they're describing it as fear or anger or love or joy, whatever it is, it's still going, okay, well, what's here? What does it want to show you? What's the information in it? So it's almost looking at it as like a data packet, right? It's like,
Mhm.
let's open it up. Let's open that part of the holographic system up and see what information is in there. And that's where I find the most um, space for healing too, is when we can go, this one feeling that felt so strong and felt so big and felt so either, immobilizing or freeing, whatever one we're working with, has all of this information in it for me. And it's like once we can open it up and it doesn't feel, it feels safe to open it up. There can be that relief in the system. There can be the relief in that body to where everything can just sit because we're getting to know all of this. We're opening up parts of ourselves that have been maybe locked away for a long time. And so what I see is like we have this body, that's in response to the subtle bodies, in response to our soul, response to, our environment, response to everything. And it's always just information flowing. And if it's not flowing, then let's go look at where it's not flowing and open that up and free that energy. And so I just see it as energy. And we've labeled it, with the words of fear, love, or joy, or anger, or frustration, or peace, or calm, or whatever it is. But it's really just a frequency of information. And when we get into that language, when we get into that feeling, when we get into that being state of being able to navigate what's being held in these certain frequencies in our body and how they're flowing or not flowing, then that to me is really the key of being in communication and understanding ourselves and understanding the nature and rhythm of our bodies and our beings, uh, to shift anything that's there to be shifted, for us to be more free.
Yeah, so great. I like how you kind of um, overlaid everything to have this subtle message to say, build that, innocent curiosity within you, where you could just, hey, I want to just learn more about me. Why am I having this?
Yeah.
And discover more about yourself. That's so great because that's freeing. I feel like some of the people that, have like a Christian or Catholic or religious background, they have this thing about, well, it says in the Bible, do not fear. Well, how do I go about overcoming that when there's so many things to fear? And so that's a great point that you brought that up. Kind of just sit with it and see how you can just make that your friend.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so do you in regards to your life or clients per se, did you feel like it was easy to develop or understand your purpose, or do you think there's actually a purpose for everybody?
That's a great question. I feel that we all have a very unique expression of ourselves in the world, as we're like these amazing creative beings that came from source, and we're just creating here from, our experience of our different lifetimes, our different interests, or how we even shape our environments. And underneath that, I feel is this beautiful, unique spark of this, expression of being. And when I see that, like I was telling you earlier, as I've been going through this shift over the years, and it's really culminating more fully now, is that we have a purpose, right? We have this unique expression, yet shifting for me, it's shifting the language to I have this purpose that I need to fulfill out in the world,
Mm.
right? From ah I have these abilities, I have these capacities, I have this knowing, and or I'm feeling these nudges and these callings to do this, right? And instead of putting a lot of pressure on ourselves to go, oh, I have a purpose, or I have a mission, or I have to do this, it's more like, how do I, it's like making a friend with it again.
Mhm.
Because sometimes when we have this idea of a purpose, it can become polarizing. I'm this, but this is who I'm supposed to be. And I've got, it's like we're constantly trying to bridge this gap. And so, how about we are who we are, and we have this, and we're getting to know ourselves in this unique expression. And as we're getting to know ourselves in this unique expression, it can take on whatever form it naturally wants to take on. Because I feel like in our world today, which I think is really powerful by what you were speaking to earlier of creating a business or creating something where you can have your expression through, right? And doing that so you can have a lifestyle that you want to create or whatever. It's also for me this space of freedom where I have these, have these things that I can do with myself and with others, and I can perceive and create. and it's really powerful. But then I can also sit back and have that choice. Does that mean that I need to start a business? Does it mean, that I have to go out and work with other people? What does that really mean for us? Because I feel like we're being conditioned right now that, oh, you have a purpose here, put it in this marketing structure and put it out in the world, make these figures of money or whatever it is. And for me, I feel like it's convoluted the experience of what purpose is.
Mm.
And that's my experience. And maybe other people, feel that way or don't feel that way. I'm just sharing, something that I feel is wanting to be harmonized and balanced in our reality right now, of where, let's the purpose, the purpose of having our unique expression is really getting to know ourselves and being in our own power, right? So we're not giving our power over to things that are unbalanced for us or that aren't really truly us. So I feel that our purpose, or a possibility, a purposeful life, a meaningful life is doing our inner work, doing our healing, and really getting to know ourselves so we can have that freedom of knowing ourselves and being ourselves in our authenticity and having that clarity. And then from that space, as we're learning about ourselves, then we have that choice of maybe it's okay that I have this job and this life with, you know, our partners or our children or whatever, and I can also express these abilities and have these abilities, but it doesn't mean I have to change my life and go do work in this way, or maybe it
Mm.
does, right? So it's really taking the pressure, for me, it's really taking the pressure off of this idea of having a purpose and having to do it in the world. um, because it from that space, I feel like it creates too much pressure in people to know who they are and do their healing work and get something started. And it can be really challenging
Yeah.
and throw people off balance to where it takes away the energy of them really getting to know themselves and who they are and honing their abilities. And then other people, it's different. They just take off and everything starts to come alive, right? And so, but I just know from my own thing, I jumped right into. I jumped right in. I started, and over time, I've been wanting to, I'm just going to step back. I don't have to do all this in the world. It doesn't mean it has to be out in front of a bunch of eyes or everyone has to hear about it or see it or so. Yeah, I find that there's a multiple different aspects of how to look at purpose and how to be in purpose and how to live with purpose and meaning. And it's going to be, I think it's just going to be different for everyone in the way that it shows up and the way that it expressed. But the biggest piece is just knowing ourselves, I feel, and that's where our power comes from. And then that's where the clarity comes from to do with what we feel inside, in our lives in the aligned way.
Yeah, that's so great. Um, it's a beautiful way to describe it too. But what's interesting was that one of the questions I had was like, well, when you say giving away your power and stuff, along those lines, what do you feel is a practice that you find that works for you that okay, today I gave too much, or just maybe the awareness of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think once we start to get to know ourselves, we can start to feel how our body feels. We can start to feel how our energy feels, right? Oh, I'm feeling, balanced and my energy's expanded, or I'm feeling contracted, or I can feel this part of my body is like, out of whack or contracted or whatever. It's kind of like having just that communication again. It's always communication. It's communication with ourselves. So what I feel is really amazing is to take some time to reflect on the day, reflect on our interactions, reflect on how it felt, reflect on where our energy went and how it feels and where our thoughts went, right? Was I thinking a lot about this one thing? And if so, what is that about? And I was putting a lot of energy into it, right? And so I just like to do that to reflect upon what was really happening or what I said, how I
Mhm.
said it, or how I was taking in somebody else, or how I was feeling around somebody else, or had to feel like I needed to navigate differently around somebody else. And so another piece I like to do, and I do this a lot in meditations and group meditations and an individual, is I like to release cords.
Mm.
I like to release any and all cords that I have with anybody. that I've interacted with or anybody that I've thought about, and view and just ask for any and all cords to leave my body that someone else may have attached to me from thinking about me or whatever, so that there isn't that exchange of energy. And then another thing that I do is I ask for everyone's power that I may have received through that cord or through that interaction to go back to them in its highest form. And then I call all my energy back from anywhere that I've put it in any way throughout the day in its highest form. So that so that I maintaining a clear physical body, a clear subtle body. And when I do that, I can tell like, oh, that part of my body just shifted, or oh, I was
Mhm.
holding that, or oh, I can feel that, where that left, or
Right.
came in. And I feel it's a powerful practice to always just be mindful when we're in interaction with others or interaction with our lives or how we feel about our lifestyle. Where are we putting our energy? Where are we putting our thoughts? Where are we putting our focus? And that's our power, right? So, um, just to keep it clear, it's just another mindful practice and self-reflection.
Yeah, that's so great. Um, now, what about for somebody who maybe doesn't have the ability to feel, or it's just more or less on the conscious level, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel our intention is everything as well. So even if we can't feel, I'm a very feeling person, so I speak in those words. Uh, but it's also just intending, just intending that to happen can make it happen, right? If
yeah,
you just direct, say, if I was in, so it's like for people who are more mental and less feeling, it's going, okay, I was in interaction with that person. I'm just going to send all their power back to them, call all mine back, release the cords with that person. And then I feel after working with mental people who are really, in their heads a lot, and is that starting to practice that and doing it over and over and over again hones the capacity to notice, hones the capacity to, right, that's where I'm giving my power. And that's also the part of reason and logic and observation too, is for those people who are more mental and can see, how they're interacting and what the results are of their interaction, right?
right.
And saying, okay, that's what's happening. So if I can just intend all of that energy to go where it needs to go, then it's happening. Energy is very responsive.
Yes.
Energy is highly responsive to our focused intention. So just know that it is happening, and that it is possible that over time, or over practicing it and doing it, uh, it will create that opening, especially if you have that intention that you want to create that opening to be more fully in your body and feeling and intuitive and seeing, that those things can start to open up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree with that too. Um, it's interesting because I was thinking in terms of like um, when our words do have power. Most people don't even think of that as something that it matters. We just have a natural conversation. And so that really highlighted that, to say, well, that's a limiting belief, to be more conscious about what we say,
Yeah.
and how we say it. So yeah. And in terms of like um, different techniques that I've heard people use, let's say like journaling or meditation, what do you find brings clarity, or that's at least helpful to them on their journey?
Yeah. I feel that sitting with oneself in any way that feels comfortable, because I know meditation is, a big thing that, a lot of us do and can be really challenging for others. Like, I can't sit for that long, or, my mind, So I feel that, it's more of that intention again, coming into that intention of what you're wanting to create, and finding the space or the place that allows you to tap into that feeling or tap into that experience of what you're wanting to do. For some people it might be writing, like, so what I've done is I've tried different techniques and found the ones that work for me. So if there isn't that clarity on which one does work, try them, you know just try them and see. If sitting meditation doesn't work, try walking meditation or a guided meditation, where you can listen to somebody else so that your mind doesn't have to work. You can just follow along. Maybe it is a writing meditation. Maybe it's just going out and gazing at the water or a tree, or gazing at an image, that allows your body to say, "Oh, okay, I'm going to sit and focus on this one thing," and just let that image, take your consciousness on a ride, while everything else in your subconscious can start to come through, right? And so there's so many different techniques, and I find that I like to empower people on finding what works for them. And so for me, meditation is a big one. Meditation has been a part of my life for over 2 decades now, daily practice. And I find that it helps me become more still, more quiet. And I was just thinking about this the other day, actually, where when I was younger and I'd be meditating, I'd be sitting and something would come through and I'd feel it through my body, or a thought, like an inspiration. I'd jump up and I'd be like gone out of my seat, or out of sitting. I'm like, okay, let's go do this, or let's do, and so sometimes my meditations were very short lived, because there was such an energy of movement that I had to move. And now, I've honed that practice to where I can sit with whatever's coming through for longer periods of time to get a bigger picture of it, see the whole a bigger vision of it, or
Right.
feel more fully the experience. And so what I say, whatever practice works for you, just keep doing it. Because if it feel like it's not working, or it's not, creating the results you want right away, know that it just takes the nervous system, it takes the body sometimes time, and the awareness of our being to catch up with doing something new and creating something new. So, um, another thing is dancing. I find for some people, the movement is can be really key for some people. For me, it's both. I love movement. Like, I need to move. It's in my like body, my biology. Like, I need to move to feel good in my body. So I love to walk. I love to exercise. I love to stretch. I love to just move about. But I'm also capable of sitting really still for periods of time. Right. So it's going finding all the different things that work for you. Like, dancing can really move a lot of energy and create a lot of clarity in the body as it's moving. So I just would really empower people. What feels good to you? Does sitting still feel good to you? Maybe it doesn't now, but it will later, right? If you keep doing it, but maybe you're more movement oriented. So find something that's movement oriented that helps you create and stimulate that flow of energy that feels centered, that feels balanced, that feels clear, right? And going into it with that intention. Like we were saying, the words that we use and the intention that we have creates the whole experience, right? So if we have that limiting belief that that meditation sitting still is really uncomfortable, it's going to hurt my knees or it's going to hurt my legs, it's like, okay, well then put pillows under your knees, or sit in a chair, or sit in your most comfortable couch. And it doesn't have to be a certain way. Find the way that it works for you. That's what I really feel is key for everyone, is not trying to force themselves into some way that somebody else does it, or they see other people doing it in the world and feel like they have to do it that way. It's really finding the key place inside that's calling you, that will show you the way for whatever it is that's going to create that space.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Where just the whole concept around, limiting beliefs, we
Mhm.
almost have this comparison thing that causes us to think that we need to be a certain way or do a certain thing because the majority of people are doing it. And so that really provided some benefit there for everybody. And along the lines of like a daily practice that you maintain that really kind of starts your day or ends your day so that you can maintain your energy and have clarity and be on point every day, what would that look like and what would you recommend?
Yeah, well, one of the first things I like to do, especially right before getting out of bed, is just calling all of my energy back to myself from my dreams, from anywhere I've been in the night, because we do sometimes travel a lot in the night, or have our dreams. And then just feel my body, say hello to the body, say hello to the day. And then just view, how I'm feeling, like tap into myself. How am I feeling? What am I waking up with? Is there any unresolved feelings from the day before, or anything that came through a dream or something that's really present, or how does the day feel? And then looking ahead and going, oh, these are the things that I have, on my, in my day that I've already scheduled, or maybe there's a lot of free space, and just looking at the day ahead and going, oh, okay, and just having that intention to be present, to flow into those things. And for me, that's been really key in creating the space before I even step out of bed. And then, most days I'm either taking care of myself and my son at the same time, getting us, situated, and then I stretch. I have had a morning yoga practice for many years now that helps me just get into my body, feel that fluidness, feel that breath, and waking the body, and connecting into the body and recognizing it as this living, powerful being that is the the alchemizing container that I live in, the
Yeah.
temple that I live in, and then meditating. Having that practice and exercising. I just enjoy that. That's something that's been a part of my life for a long time. So I like weights. I like feeling good in my body that way. And so for me, there's that rhythm. And then throughout the day, it's just always coming into that mindfulness. Where are my thoughts? Where am I holding my body? So like even just throughout the day, having those mindfulness moments,
Mhm.
and awareness, and noticing and speaking, what I'm feeling, or just noticing and having conversations with people around me, or if it's my son or my partner or whatever, just saying, okay, this is what's present. And then at night, I, also will just sit and center into my body. I'll notice throughout the day where I'm not centered. Oh, I'm over here, I'm over there, go, okay, let's take a moment. Let's breathe back in. Let's breathe back into the body. Relax the shoulders, just being in that space. So I feel like the meditation and these practices are what supports us in being more present in every moment, more present, and having that capacity to go, oh, well, this is how I'm holding my body. The more we do it, the more mindful and the more information we can receive from ourselves. And in my morning practice, one of the things that I think is really valuable too is really centering into the center channel of the body and asking for balance, asking for balance, in harmony, and all the systems of the body being in harmony, so that we're really communicating with the organs, we're communicating with the blood, we're communicating with all the energy that is actually keeping this body alive
Yeah.
and flowing, and us being here in this body. Um, so just tuning into life itself, to me in this way, and giving gratitude for life itself is a huge practice. And so then at night, I kind of call my energy back from the day, look at any things that I want to look at that may have happened or didn't happen, or stuff that I need to resolve, so I can go to bed with a clear mind and just center again. And then sometimes I have intentions for dreams, and anything that or just to bring awareness around something that maybe I have a question about. Um, so that's kind of how I start and end my day, and try to flow uh throughout the day.
Yeah, that's a great practice. I really enjoyed um, you talking about the sequence of like going into like the gratitude first, then the rest and meditation, and then do the yoga, but then you exercise after to kind of get that body rejuvenated, right? Because you're in all those sedentary or really low positions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so just to kind of wrap this up too, like what would you say if somebody asked you, what does a amazingly authentic life look like?
Wow. That is being yourself. That amazingly authentic life is being yourself, and being yourself is allowing whatever you feel in your heart, whatever you feel flowing that feels so true to you, that we step into that, that you step into that we allow that to be the guiding factor in everything that we do. And it doesn't have to look like anything but what it looks like as your expression and how it's creating in the world. And to me, that's the freest thing that we possibly can have, is that. And being yourself means just knowing yourself, right? letting those inner callings be the inspiration, feeling those things that you want to do and letting yourself have them in any capacity that you can, or creating a space to where you go, oh, okay, this is what's really calling me. How do I create that from the space that I'm in now? Right. And just keeping our focus on that, that our focus and our attention and our intention is always on being ourself, being
Yeah.
our true self, and knowing what that is underneath all the layers of stuff that we've taken on. So yeah, being free. And for me, I call it centered pure living. It's that space where we just stay centered, we stay in that purity of self, and that purity of self is truly being our unique expression in the world, and our unique expression with ourselves first and foremost, and loving ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So beautiful. There you go. And so
Yeah.
great. And just to, for everybody that's here, we do have, you are able to give a free offer for everybody, if you wouldn't mind just explaining what that is, so they could take
Yeah.
advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I really enjoy is feeling that divinity within, and bringing everything into balance and union. So what I have is a short and long version of a divine union affirmation process that allows us to really go into the body, go into the space, go into our energy, go into our soul, pure presence, and go through a sequence of wordings of sayings that brings us into that space. So there's a 6-minute version, and I think a 20-minute version for those who just need something quick, and for those who want to, for that time when you have to sit with something a little longer. And then I also throw in a couple more bonus meditations. I'm not sure if there'll be one or two on this one. I'll have to double check, but it's usually just meditations that I've done recently that I'll throw in there for you to connect into it. And so that'll be a surprise for you of what that will be.
That's so great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be really helpful too, just if you want to add that to your morning or nightly routine. So that's great. So
Yeah.
thank you for offering that. And
Yeah.
we'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. And we appreciated you having us or being in it here on the Breakthrough Your Limiting Beliefs Summit. Hopefully you took some golden nuggets away and be able to take advantage of the free offer as well, so that you can continue on your path and be more of the authentic you that you are. Thank you, Kristen, for being on the show. We appreciate
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome. And can I share one more thing that
Absolutely.
came as you were speaking that I just really felt, was that we call them limiting beliefs. And I feel that we're so limitless, and we're so infinite, that what we call limiting beliefs are really just these openings to know ourselves more deeply and to have more of that authentic life, right? So just wanting to share that, and I just really appreciate you, Daniel, for taking the time to create this so that we can support people on their path to create the life that they want. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you for joining us. Have a great night or day, and you all take care. And we'll see you for the next speaker. Bye for now.